All right. Hello and welcome to our Diabetes Cooking Club Sheet Pan Meals. My name is Isabel and I am a health educator with Bronson. And with me, I have Emily cooking and Kim doing the education. So I will let them introduce themselves and then we'll get started.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Emily, and I am a health educator here with Bronson's Community Health Advancement Team. And I'm so excited that all of you are here to join us this morning and really excited to get cooking.
Good morning, all. My name is Kim House. I am a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator. I'm coming to you from Bronson South Haven, but I welcome you this morning on this beautiful fall morning, and hopefully you enjoy the education about sheet pan meals. Welcome.
All right, so just a couple of housekeeping things to get us started. There is closed captioning available, so if you need closed captioning, feel free to click. There should be a CC button. If you need it, that is totally fine. If you have some questions about it, because we all know that technology is not always 100% accurate, feel free to type something in the chat and we will try and clarify anything that you need help with. Also, if you could keep yourselves muted throughout the entirety of this session, there are going to be some opportunities for question, answer, discussion. However, just to kind of help with some background noise, we just ask that we keep our mics all muted. And then finally, like I did say, this is being recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, you can turn your video off. There should be a red slash through it that shows that your video is off. With that, we're going to move on to our quick little disclosure here. If you've been to our diabetes cooking classes, you know that this is something we like to mention, that the information you hear today is intended as general health information and should not be used as a substitute for medical care or advice from your provider. So for your all individual needs, please make sure you are talking to your provider about what is best for you. And then, Kim, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so today we are going to have a beautiful morning talking about sheet pan meals. And we're going to start off with Isabel. Emily is going to present and prepare our maple sheet pan recipe. We're going to watch her do that. And we're going to come back for some education regarding sheet pan meals, convenience, nutrition, variety. We're going to do some comparisons. And then we do have a short video for you on another recipe. So let's take it away, Emily.
Okay, great. So today we're going to be making maple sheet pan chicken. So we are going to be using some chicken breast, and we're going to be using some sweet potato and some Brussels sprouts, and we are going to be baking it in the oven and then coating it with this delicious maple glaze, sticking it back in the oven, and in just 30 minutes, we're going to have a great lunch or dinner for you.
All right, I'm going to stop my share so I can get you highlighted, Emily. And then we will let you take away our cooking part.
Okay. So, to start out for our maple sheet pan chicken, the first thing we have to do is get our veggies ready. So what I like to do when I go grocery shopping, I like to take a look at my recipes for the week and kind of prepare my veggies ahead of the time. So I don't have to waste time chopping when I'm trying to prepare dinner in a hurry. So what I did is I already cleaned, washed, and chopped up all my veggies. So for my sweet potato, all I did is I peeled it and cut them into these little cubes. So these are all ready for me to go. My sweet potatoes, I cut into these, it's about like a 1 inch cube, if you can see it there. And I just guesstimate when I'm cutting these, and I use my knuckle for reference. So your knuckle is usually about 1 inch. So I cut these up into nice little cubes. And if you're not into sweet potatoes, I recommend using like a regular potato, or you could even use squash here. Really any vegetable that you would want to use. Next, I have my Brussels sprouts. And I know Brussels sprouts can be kind of controversial. I feel like you either love them or you hate them. Growing up, I didn't really love Brussels sprouts, but I definitely grew to love them. And if you're not into Brussels sprouts, you could easily substitute this out for broccoli or green beans or pretty much anything, any other vegetable that you're a fan of. And so to prepare these Brussels sprouts, it's actually really easy to cut these up. So I've got my little Brussels sprout here, and all you have to do is trim off the end. So I just cut the little end off of that, and then I cut them in half. And there we go. Easy peasy, ready to kind of throw in this bowl. And as you're deciding how big you kind of want these veggies, it really kind of depends on how crisp you want them to get. So if you cut them a little bit smaller, they're gonna really crisp up in the oven. And if you leave them a little bit bigger, they're gonna not get quite as crispy and maybe be a little bit more soft or kind of maintain that texture. So I've got all my veggies in my bowl here. So I'm just gonna coat these in a little bit of olive oil to make sure that they cook nicely in the oven. And really, I don't need that much olive oil to get these all thoroughly coated. I'm just using a little bit of olive oil. Put in my bowl, and I'm just gonna use a spoon to kind of get these thoroughly coated. Making sure that olive oil gets spread all over my veggies.
Emily, and we do have a question. Nikki is
Yeah.
wondering, do sweet potatoes turn brown like regular potatoes if you cut them early?
Um, I usually, when I cut up a potato, what I do is I just dice them and then I have them in a little plastic baggie in the fridge. Sometimes if you go to the grocery store and you find that section with all the pre-cut veggies, anything that's cut ahead of time is usually stored in like one of those fridge shelves. So that's just what I do, and it kind of avoids any browning. So like these, I cut up yesterday and it's as if I cut them up this morning.
I was just
So
gonna say,
now
I
that I've
feel like I've seen people put like cut potatoes in water in the refrigerator as well. I don't know. I've never done that, but I feel like I've seen that as well. So some some ideas to try.
yeah. And so now I have my baking sheet and I have just put some tin foil over it. I prefer tin foil to baking parchment. That's just a personal preference. You can use either. And I just put my chicken here to one side. And so we just have some chicken breast here, some smaller cuts. And the other half I'm going to fill with my veggies. I'm just going to put them right on our baking sheet. So now we've got half chicken, half veggies, and these are looking so colorful and so delicious. And now I've got my oven. It's preheated to 425 degrees. And I'm just gonna stick these in there for 15 minutes.
What other vegetables would you guys add to your sheet pan meals, this sheet pan meal? Anybody want to drop it in the chat?
While that's cooking, I want to prepare my glaze that I'm gonna need later. So I have my maple syrup and my maple syrup. That's the main component of this maple glaze. I want to add a little bit of olive oil. And that is just gonna help us continue to cook this sheet pan meal once we have it in the oven. And it's just gonna help that glaze go on smoothly.
Yeah,
I'm going to
broccoli, green
add,
beans, carrots, and onions are what people would add to this, Emily.
ooh, that sounds delicious. I think carrots would be like a great substitute if you didn't like sweet potato. It would still give you that really beautiful orange color. And I just love baked carrots. They caramelize so well.
Probably with the maple glaze, it would be even more amazing.
Ooh, that would be delicious. I'm gonna have to try that. So I've got my maple syrup, a little bit of olive oil, and I'm gonna add my spices. So here I have a little bit of paprika, we have garlic powder, we have salt, and a little bit of pepper. And so we need really like half the amount of salt as we need paprika and garlic powder. And I also have some fresh thyme on this plate. And thyme, if you don't aren't able to get fresh thyme, dried is perfectly fine. But I love the way fresh thyme smells in the kitchen, and it's so easy to get off of the stem. So here I've got my little stem of thyme, and all I have to do is kind of grab one end, pinch it, and pull, and all the little leaves just fall off so easily. So it's really easy to prepare. So I'm just going to take all of my spices and get them into our dish. And now I'm just going to mix it up. And as I'm mixing, you'll notice it starts to turn this really beautiful, kind of like a dark red burgundy color. A lot of that is from the paprika and the maple syrup. And it just really winds up to be like this really beautiful color. Okay, so now all we have to do is wait for our chicken to be done. So I'll see you in about 10-ish minutes.
All right, thanks, Emily. I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. It's probably going to be delicious. All right, can you guys see my screen all right?
Yes, I can.
Beautiful. Okay, there we go.
Right. So, welcome and let's get to some education. But first off, in the chat, what are your most used sheet pan ingredients? If you already do sheet pan meals, put in the chat, what do you like to use? I know Isabel asked earlier about vegetables, but hey, it really can be sky's limit. So, all right, let's get started. So I wanted to point on the convenience of sheet pan meals. It can be a very popular choice for busy individuals and families, very much prepared quickly, as you saw Emily just really putting those ingredients together quite quickly. It can be really ideal, as you'll find out today, for any course, whether it be an appetizer, whether it be for a main dish or even a dessert. It could be for breakfast, it could be for a lunch, or it could be for a dinner. So really very much convenient for any of those. It can save a lot of time, being that everything's kind of right there on that sheet. Uh, just really easy meal prep, just cutting some things up, making some preparations, some a little ahead of time or really right then and there. So it's there's a lot of convenience to the sheet pan meals, and the cooking process is quite simple. Everything goes on the sheet pan like you saw Emily do, and she put it in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Really quite hands off. The minimal dishes are super nice for everyone. We're not running between the oven and the stove and juggling burners and other pots and pans. Emily just had a small plate with herbs and spices on it. She had a little container mixing dish for like her vegetables and something for her glaze, but really with the cooking, it is very minimal dishes. The cleanup, she prefers the aluminum foil. Others might prefer the parchment, but really you should have these pans clean up well. You might have a few dishes if you're mixing vegetables or other ingredients together, but very minimal. And really, if you have the meal out on that pan, kind of everything's kind of available at the same time. We all eat at the same time. So that can be nice. It's not waiting for one thing to get done, hopefully before the other. There will be those instances that you might do sheet pan, your protein on the sheet pan, or like your vegetable or your side on the sheet pan, and then prepare your protein or vegetable or side on the side. But you might find that causes a little delay in some instances. So sheet pans can kind of provide you that, like everything is done at once. And really the storage of these sheet pans themselves is so minimal, they stack. So really the pans themselves are like quite convenient.
I agree 100%. I also think that these are really great for like big family friend event gatherings with like the throwaway pans,
Oh,
that's helpful
absolutely.
if you have a ton of people and
Yeah.
you have those millions of dishes you don't want to do. So,
And
another
then
opportunity.
yes, and we'll talk about the sizes of those sheet pans, and you can really get those anywhere, those disposable ones too.
And I do want to mention just a couple of things before we move
Yes.
on, Kim. So we have a lot of people saying these
Yeah.
different vegetables: chicken, peppers, onions, steak, sweet
Mhm.
potatoes, chicken sausage, red pepper, red onion, broccoli, sweet potato, peppers, mushroom, butternut squash, red onions, broccoli, baby potatoes, mixed peppers. A huge variety of people with different vegetables they are using for these sheet pan meals.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm curious, has anyone prepared a dessert and what did you make? Or perhaps a breakfast and what did you make? What did you for a sheet pan meal? Kind of curious. So go ahead and put that in the chat. I love those ideas though. Those sound delicious. All right. So when we look at sheet pan meals, of course, we're coming to you from a diabetes cooking club, diabetes standpoint. And as a registered dietitian, I think about the nutrition of these sheet pan meals, of course. As in front of you, you have an example of a sheet pan meal. This is one with some salmon, some tomatoes, lemons, onions, broccoli. We like to balance out these food groups. It improves your blood sugars. You get that protein nutrition. You get that carbohydrate nutrition. You get some dietary fat, a little bit of that olive oil. It really forces you to strategize and how to incorporate just all these colorful foods. If you think rainbow, whether it be different varieties of potatoes or broccoli, your different cruciferous vegetables, your tomatoes, right? Your mushrooms, just all those textures. And you can use fruits in the same type of way, varying all those colors. As you see in front of you, there's lemons. And the proteins can be animal or plant-based. So beans and chicken, steak, uh, fish, and you'll see later on eggs. So nutrition's important, helping balance this for our blood sugars. The entire sheet pan can be covered with just a few ingredients. It can be minimal. It can be lots of different ingredients. You might have leftovers in the fridge that you want to use a couple cups of this and a cup of that you throw on your sheet pan. Entire meal can be on one sheet and cooked together. It can be minimal ingredients. Like this looks like a lot when you look at this picture. But what this recipe was is some variety of different vegetables, kind of leftovers. You can use fresh chopped foods. You can season them to your liking, just like what you saw Emily do. So you can use modifications, to your own dietary preferences. cutting back on that sodium, adding some fresh herbs maybe that you have that you're like, I don't know what to do with. It can be very concentrated flavors, but oh so nutrient dense. Does anybody put anything, Isabel, about
Oh, we heard breakfast casserole
yeah,
would be a good thing. We've also seen people say baked oatmeal with quinoa, flax, applesauce, eggs. And then one person is asking how to keep
mhm,
sheet pan dinners from being soggy. And they mentioned that avoiding overcrowding is one
yes.
way to help with that. So
Yes. So there's, high water watery vegetable, high water vegetables and fruits that may, as cooking, may have some extra moisture. Some of your proteins may as well. So you may leave some room in between your different ingredients. So the liquids don't affect the outcomes of the other foods. You see the sheet pan and it looks quite busy, but that is what was desired for this specific recipe. But others might be more simplistic in a few ingredients like we have today, and you can give that room. So you're not affecting the outcomes of the other. Um, it's a great question.
then we have someone
Yeah.
asking what is nutritional facts. I'm thinking that that might be related to the recipe. So
Oh,
the picture didn't have the nutrition facts on there.
oh,
So if when you get the
reminder email.
recipe follow-up email, then though that recipe will have the nutrition facts as well. And
Yeah.
then finally, we have making a large pasta using box pie crust filled with mixed root vegetables and lean protein. Yeah.
Mm,
All
okay.
right. Thanks for
Are we
these
gonna
ideas,
check?
everyone.
Yeah. Do we want to, is Emily, ready? It's been about 10 minutes, so I don't know if Emily,
Yeah.
we want to check in and make sure, are we ready or should we? Are you ready to glaze,
Hello.
Emily?
I think we're just about ready to take out
Okay.
our sheet pan. So
Okay.
let's
I'm
check
gonna
on
stop
it.
share quick and I'm gonna re-spotlight you so we can see this chicken.
Okay. We are just about halfway through cooking. And so what we want to do halfway through cooking is take our sheet pan meal out. And we really kind of want to flip everything over, making sure that we're able to kind of cook everything evenly. So I'm just going to flip my chicken over.
Mm,
And now I'm going to add my maple glaze. So I've just got it in this little bowl. I'm using a spoon to just kind of drizzle the glaze over. You can use whatever instrument you want. I know some people have those silicone brushes that they use to get a glaze to spread evenly. You can use that, but I think just drizzling it works really well. So I'm just making sure I'm kind of evenly coating my chicken and getting this glaze all over our veggies.
And then we just want to clarify, right, Emily, that we are putting this back in the oven until the chicken is all the way cooked through, right?
Yes. So
Beautiful,
now I
beautiful.
have that glaze on. I'm just gonna make sure I'm kind of mixing my vegetables around, getting that glaze coated over them so that it's evenly coated, and also kind of flipping my vegetables, making sure that they are getting um, cooked evenly. So this one, yes, does have to go back in the oven, but luckily I was able to prepare one of these earlier today. So I'll pop this back in the oven for another 15 minutes.
And then I just want to mention that Jill said that they would add whole grain mustard in the glaze. That would be delicious. What a
Oh, that would be
fantastic
good.
idea.
So this is our finished sheet pan meal that I was able to do ahead of time. And so whenever I take something out of the oven and I'm ready to eat it, I just want to double check that my chicken is up to temperature. So as soon as I stick this in, I want my temperature to read at 165 or above immediately to let me know that that chicken is cooked through. But here it
Wonderful.
is. It really does look
Delicious.
beautiful. We have
Yes.
this beautiful, crispy sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts, and the glaze looks amazing on this chicken. So I'm just going to take my plate. I'm going to grab a piece of chicken, making sure I'm getting a good amount of these vegetables. They look really good.
Oh,
I
that looks
wish
so good. That's gonna
I
be a great
wish
dinner or lunch
smell-o-vision
or
existed
breakfast.
so that you could um, smell all of this.
It's so fall. It
I
fits the
know.
day.
It kind
Oh
of
my
it
gosh,
really
it's so
reminds me of
good.
like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so here is my plate with my veggies, my chicken, and I am all set for lunch.
Mm,
And
delicious.
one nice thing is that maple glaze really kind of is sticking to this sheet pan, but because I have the tin foil on it, all I have to do once I'm done, take it off, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash. And cleanup really is just that easy, so I don't have to be afraid of any sticky ingredients.
Um, Emily, someone is wondering if you used chicken tenders because the breast looks small.
I used chicken tenders because I split the recipe in half. So I made
Sure.
half of it ahead of time, and then half of it is in the oven right now. So I just made them a little bit smaller. So I was able to half that recipe. So I made little um, chicken tenders. And really, you can use whatever size um, portion of chicken breast that you want. You could even dice it up and make your own little um, chicken nuggets with this, especially if you've got kids or grandkids over. You can cut them up into little bites, just making sure that that chicken really is cooked through. So a larger piece of chicken might need to take a little bit longer in the oven to cook all the way through, versus smaller pieces of chicken are going to cook through faster.
And
So I
then
have
one
a
more
question.
question.
Oh, I
Oh,
also have yep, go ahead, Isabel.
I was just going to say, Catherine was asking if this recipe reheats well to prep ahead of time and take to work.
Ooh, I would think.
Think that this reheats really well. Personally, I think especially like sweet potatoes reheat really well. I think the Brussels sprouts reheat well, and chicken. I think if you were to put this in a microwave, it's just gonna lose a little bit of that crispiness from the vegetables, especially. So if you're fine with that, go for it. I would try it out. Um, but if you like reheated it in the oven or something, like a toaster oven, it would kind of re-crisp it. So it's really just like a texture situation.
Emily, you had said you have half the recipe on that pan and half the recipe on the other. So there is, to kind of answer for the participant that was asking about the nutrition facts, there's 4 servings in this whole entire recipe. So essentially half that sheet pan is a serving.
Pretty much, you can have
So
half this sheet pan, and that's a serving.
4 ounces of chicken. So I wanted to let the participants know that that's 360 calories for 4 ounces of chicken, and half of like a potato and a good serving of like the Brussels sprouts, which those that are thinking about, the amount of like carbohydrates and protein, it's 40 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbohydrates. So it's a very balanced meal, which can kind of lead us into the next part of the education. But just with that sitting there, that looks amazing. And wanted to just point out it's quite a big serving. Like it's a very nice amount of with
Yeah,
the sheet pan
I
meals.
tested it out yesterday for lunch.
Yeah.
My husband was very happy
Yep.
that I got to make lunch at home yesterday. And I made half a serving for us yesterday, and he eats quite a bit, and we were both like full by the end of lunch. And I really wasn't hungry. It really kept me full for a long while, all the way up till dinner.
Good.
Amazing.
Looks
Well,
delicious.
it does. Thank you so much, Emily. Can we see that plate one more time before I bring us back to education?
Is my little
Oh,
plate. I've got my
gorgeous.
chicken, sweet potatoes, and Brussels sprouts.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, Kim, we're gonna bring it back to you. Right.
So is this recipe balanced? Does it meet the criteria for, you know, really, is it well for our diabetes and our blood sugars? When we consider all the parts and pieces of this recipe, the sweet potatoes and the maple syrup, those would be our carb components, the chicken as our protein component, and the olive oil, our fat component, and our non-starchy vegetable as our Brussels sprouts. So it's a beautiful fall balanced meal. There may be some concern with maple syrup and sweet potatoes in the same recipe, but really it's a very balanced meal. Calories are well within most budgets, and carbs and proteins are very balanced. There's just a little added sugar with that maple syrup. There's some modifications, but it keeps us full. It's high in fiber, and the sodium can be adjusted as needed. So if we're concerned with the amount of sodium, we can just, work with that table salt that we added and do some work with that. So let's consider this a good one. So with that said, another item I wanted to discuss is the versatility, variability of the sheet pan meals, that it's so customizable. What I was just mentioning about the ingredients, we can, and what Emily and Isabel, right, we were talking about is chicken breast, chicken tenders, sweet potatoes, russet potatoes, baby potatoes. We can use Brussels sprouts. We can use the broccoli or the carrots. It's ingredient versatility. Whatever's kind of in our fridge left over, we can throw in that pan. Dietary preferences. If we need to avoid green vegetables due to a heart medication, or maybe a dislike of certain foods, or we have a dietary preference that we must use, and like a low sodium diet, looking at reducing those things that have contained sodium. We can do that with sheet pan meals. And cooking times, are customizable using that timer, using our temperature variability, checking those temperatures like Emily was doing, making sure that they just meet our needs. We can, cook our meat thoroughly and then let it cool if we needed to, depending, or a hot meal is supposed to be hot. Maybe it's supposed to cool down for another kind of entree or dessert. Some of our stovetop items can be easily cooked in the oven on a sheet pan. So there's some versatility there. And really the number of items on a sheet pan, it's customizable. We have a couple today. Some, as you've seen in some of those pictures that we've in examples of recipes, there can be numerous items and colors and the whole rainbow. So it's very customizable, which is nice.
And then, Kim, we have a question. Someone is asking, isn't sweet potatoes a starchy vegetable for diabetes?
Absolutely, it's a starchy vegetable. So we would want to consider the portion size of that sweet potato amount. So we would be, considering it as one of our carbohydrates that we're consuming. Mentioned in that previous slide, it is a carb containing, as any fruit or vegetable or food item that is grown in the ground, or on a tree or in a field. It does contain any sort of glucose or sugar. So it's considered a carbohydrate. So that sweet potato, yes, is a carbohydrate. It is a starchy vegetable. But in a moderate portioned amount, it can work in, a carb budget. This recipe contains 30 grams of carbohydrate for the entire recipe. If you felt that it was a food item that you would rather not include, there's a lot of non-starchy vegetables to replace that with. That's the nice thing about these sheet pan meals. And the sheet pans themselves are versatile. There are full sheet pan sizes that really probably take up the entire oven. It's a full size, almost industrial. Most of us don't have that size. We might have the 18 by 13. Emily, you might have had the 9 by 13 or perhaps the quarter size this morning. We can get anywhere in between. Really, sky's the limit here. We might have variety of them. You can find them in 3-packs, in entire packs of them. Amazon, Target, Walmart, disposable, as Isabel said, you can go into the dollar store, or we can find them, we probably want to stick away from dark sheet pans because that might affect the temperature, and nonstick because of that coating might affect that. The aluminum might stick to that, or if we use nonstick with our ingredients, that might cause some with nonstick coating, that might affect that.
And then we have a question.
Yeah.
How could you use beans or lentils or brown or wild rice in these recipes?
I have personally not, but there is anything you can really use in the on the stove, you can put that on the sheet pan. So that would be a consideration. Isabel, have you tried that before?
I have never used beans or lentils or brown or wild rice on a sheet pan meal. However, I have made sheet pan meals and then served them on top of already cooked rice,
Yeah.
or beans or whatever that might be. I just feel like the cooking time for the rice and such would be a little bit different than the other food items that are going to be on the sheet pan. So I would cook if you're going to use rice, I would cook that separately, and then, serve that with your sheet pan meal.
I really would agree. A lot of your whole grains that you are suggesting, and especially your high fiber, like those beans, lentils, and the brown rice, will take additional time because they are whole grain to cook. So you may consider that on a different sheet pan.
I have used black beans in a sheet pan meal before. There's like some really great recipes out there for kind of like a baked taco.
Yeah.
And so I just use like a can of black beans, and that's kind of my protein for my tacos. And I will put those on my tacos, put those on a sheet pan, and let those bake. So that's often a great way to maybe use like a bean or a lentil. I don't usually just put them on the sheet pan. It's usually inside of another ingredient, and then rice. Sometimes I'll just do some non-starchy vegetables, or we'll be cooking some fish on the sheet pan, and we might pair that with some rice that we'll make on the stovetop or rice cooker, or even those microwave rice packages.
And also, if you're a fan of chickpeas, roasted chickpeas is really who's
Isabel.
laughing here is really delicious. So you can put on a separate sheet pan some roasted chickpeas. They're delicious.
All right. Good questions, guys. All right. Keep throwing your questions in the chat. Love it. So what we thought of is we would compare a sheet pan meal to a local restaurant meal. So we have a sheet pan steak and veggies. It's a homemade sheet pan recipe. And Main Street Pub, so you can find this Allendale, you can find this Kalamazoo. It's a local pub, and they have the same exact, really the same exact ingredients. So we thought we'd look at that, what the cost would be. So a 6-ounce sirloin for our sheet pan ingredient, and at the restaurant with baby potatoes on our sheet pan versus steak fries, broccoli and tomatoes on our sheet pan versus side salad. It's about half the cost when you make your own sheet pan meal compared to this Main Street Pub. I'm not hating on Main Street Pub, but you pay $20.99 for that meal and you haven't paid for the tip. So sheet pan meals can be quite a cost savings there, which can be nice. And you can control your own ingredients. You can customize it to your own dietary preferences. So we wanted to kind of compare that in this presentation. So I'm curious, where are we at? What meal do you use sheet pans for the most? Is it breakfast? Is it lunch? Is it dinner? Is it always an appetizer? Is it always the dessert? Or am I totally missing something? I don't know. Put that in the chat. I think I would say mine's mostly dinner. And I'm up for like the sausage, the chicken, the steak, any veggies, really, sweet potatoes, green, colored. I haven't used much fruit. I would want to explore fruit more in my sheet pan meals. What about you, Isabel?
Gotta be honest here and say that I usually use my sheet pans for dessert, to be honest. But we
Oh,
always talk
let's hear
about
it.
balance, right? We're always talking about balance.
Yes,
There's room for dessert. But I do
there
have to
is.
say that there is, right, Kip?
There is. There's a budget for everything. So what do we got? What's your dessert sheet pans?
So usually dessert sheet pan would be the humble, chocolate chip cookie there. However, I actually have used sheet pans for fruit before, Kim. I have done roasted fruit before on the sheet pan. Basically I took some different fruit. I think it was pretty fall themed. So I did some apples and some pears. And then what I did is I tossed them in like a spice mixture. So like cinnamon, allspice, ginger, those types of things. And I tossed them in those little things and then roasted them in the oven. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how long, but not super long. Roasted them in the oven. They got nice and almost jammy, I guess would be the best word that I can explain. And it was really quite delicious. They were really great. So if you've never experimented with fruit on a sheet pan, it's really, really delicious.
And for your humble cookie, there's ingredient customization there too, if you had to fit in everyone's, dietary preferences. So we'll just say that. Excellent. All right, what do we got?
We've got a lot of people, usually dinner. Some people use breakfast for casseroles, and leftovers for lunch, like reheating things. I love that. That's what I do too with the sheet pan, is I do a lot of reheating with my sheet pan. So
All right.
amazing. All right, so we've got one quick video for you before our question and answer for the day. So this is another sheet pan meal that is really delicious and really easy to make. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick so I can get to the correct link, and then we will watch that video.
So for you breakfast lovers, this is an example, but for those that have never used breakfast as a sheet pan thought, this might be for you. But I like breakfast for dinner, so hey, this is going to be something else.
Amazing. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, and then Kim, if you can just give me a thumbs up when it starts playing to see if you are able to hear it.
Yep. Can you expand your screen though?
All right.
I wonder if you can put up the recipe or post that in the chat
For
for a second
sure.
for those that might want to take that. I don't know if you can get that.
See. All right, hold on one moment here. Try something.
I think that's probably Kathy's question. She says, will we receive the slides? We'll have this video recorded, but maybe they'd like the
Let me try this. I don't know if this can work, but maybe.
screenshot it.
Oh, okay. So Yeah, it wouldn't let me post it
snippet?
into the chat,
Okay,
but what we can do is we can definitely make sure in the follow-up email that we include the screenshot of that recipe.
that would be good.
Perfect. All right. Let me get back here. I think that leads us to our
Q&A.
Q&A. If anybody has any Q&A. Feel free to type in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Also, I am going to stop the recording. So let me get that situated and then we should be good.